Hey everybody, welcome to My Green Pets. I'm William Green. We're going to start out today in the grow tent. The conditions in here, as you can see, sun's shining brightly into the tent this morning, so we've already gone up to 23.9. I think our low temperature last night was about 22, which is about 72 Fahrenheit. And our humidity, man, look at that, 82%. It's great. So let's just have a look around. First of all, check this out. Wow. Cycnodes one delight. I have never gotten more than about 6 flowers off this plant, and it looks like we've got 2 really nice spikes this year, each one with several flowers coming through. That is super exciting. In previous years, as soon as I saw the spikes coming out, I would stop watering, and then the spikes sometimes would just abort. So I learned my lesson this year. I have been watering very normally through the whole spiking process, and everything is really looking good. I'm so happy about this, and hopefully we won't have any bud blast, and they'll be happy. You can see they're just covered in that happy sap, and it really looks beautiful in the morning light there. So happy about that. I have not looked at my other 2 yet. I'm just kind of keeping on watering them, and maybe one of these days, maybe after I get done here, I'll just peek around the corner and see if there's anything poking out of them. Right in front of them we have Phalaenopsis Chiliana, which is holding on. After a pretty significant repot, I cut off a lot of old rotten roots. This thing was really due for a repot, and I was in denial about it. I thought, I did see some really interesting moss growing in the pot, and I thought, oh, it's got moss in there, it's fine. Well, no, it wasn't fine. Probably the reason that I've had so many troubles with this plant in the past year is because the roots were rotting, and then that rot is moving on into the plant. So I gave it a full soak with Phyton 27. I soaked the whole plant in a bucket of that stuff, the highest concentration that they recommend, which is like 2.5 teaspoons per gallon. Soaked in there for about 10 minutes, brought it out, repotted, and it's been suffering from that. It lost so many roots in the repot that it is kind of drying up. The new roots dried up. So it's, in addition to its infection, now it's got to deal with drought, cut off roots. I wouldn't be surprised if the spike aborts. It may have already done so. Hopefully this new leaf will still try to grow out. Probably won't be very big, but we're just trying to save it here. All my Cattleya seedlings seem to be doing okay. They're kind of finishing up their growth for the year. A few of them are still pushing out a last growth. This one, for example, you can see it's just starting to kind of split. I love that. This is an awesome moment for me when the new leaf is pushing out and it finally starts to split open, just like that. And so once that's done, this plant will be in rest mode for about 5 months. In their native habitat in Peru, they get about a 5-month, well, you could call it a dry season, but Cattleya rex grows in an area where a dry season means less rain, but not no rain. It still gets rain all year round. It's from a very wet place. And so one thing that I actually noticed this week, I haven't been home this week. I had a plant sitter taking care of my plants for me, and he was sending me pictures of the plants on the days that he came to water, and it was amazing to me. In just a couple of days without water, the bulbs really shrank up, and that just tells me that these plants need constant water even through their dry season. It just needs to be less water, and temperature is the real key with Cattleya rex. They do not tolerate temperature swing. 28 degree Celsius days, 18 degree nights. Those are the average temperatures all year round where they live. So if you have Cattleya rex and you're wondering, why am I getting this rot or these problems in the wintertime, check your temperatures. It does not like cool temperatures. cool. Maybe it cool at night, but their day temperatures need to still warm up to about 82 degrees, which is 28 Fahrenheit or 28 Celsius. But yeah, some of them are still finishing up growths from the year. Got a couple paths. I've moved here out of the light a little bit. They were getting a lot of light. We got villosum on the right there, putting out some new leaves. Very happy about that. These are potted in sphagnum right now. I am going to unpot those today and put them in bark. Here's my Paphcalosum. I think not all the growths are doing well. I think these two grow. This one's really yellow looking. I don't know, it might be rotting. The ones in the back look okay. So yeah, here's another Cattleya. This is Jose Marti. This is a hybrid. It's got basically 3 species in it. It's Massii, for the most part, like 53% Massii, and then we have Triani, and I think Gaskeliana is the third. So it was interesting too, when the Cattleya rexes were all shriveling up, this guy was fine. So that tells me that it can tolerate drought a lot better than they can. Looking forward, I was kind of hoping that in this new growth we would see a sheath that would possibly bloom in the spring, because this plant is young enough where it has never bloomed. Would love to see that in the spring. The roots are doing great. You can see they're really reaching quite far out of the pot and branching like crazy. I do use Kelp Max or that indole butyric acid to stimulate roots, and wow, look down there. Man, hybrids, it's a totally different game with hybrids. I'm just really learning that, you know, I kind of learned Cattleyas by growing Cattleya rex, but it is not typical. It does not seem to be a typical Cattleya. Here we have Walcariana, finished. Looks like it's finished up this growth, finishing up this one, and it is putting out some new roots too. I don't know if you can see them because of the light, but got good roots going on down here. Yeah, there we go. Some down here too, maybe. Can you see? And what we're really looking for is within, I don't know, a month or two, I'd like to see new growth pushing out that would hopefully bear flowers. But who knows? I'm happy that the plant's growing well, and would love to see it bloom. Got some more seedlings down here. This is another Rex seedling. This is Cattleya Triani, and it's got a second growth pushing out. And you can see the little roots are escaping the pot down there. And that's cool. Alright, let's move over to the other side here and check out Paph Prime Child. Look at that spike. Where did that come from? So we've definitely got one bud. There's a second bud coming out, and if we're lucky, we might even get a third. What do you guys think? Think there'd be a third bud on that? Be nice. I'm not going to mess with it too much. As the spike is growing, it really swings back and forth throughout the day. Last night it was down here, and then this morning it was up here. So it kind of does this motion if you were to look at a time lapse of it. But I'm moving my fan around so that each part of the grow tent gets a little bit of extra air on any given day. I really wish I had an oscillating fan. That might have to be something that I invest in. Let's see, these Rexes are mounted on pieces of bark. They're doing pretty well. This one's got a seed pod on it. You can see those roots are just looking for somewhere to go, something to grab onto. In the next couple years, they might have to be put on a bigger piece of bark or stuck in a pot. One thing, if you want to have mounted plants, but don't want to hang them up somewhere, you can just put them out in a pot like that, right? And you know, it works. It kind of grows like a potted plant, but it's mounted. I like that. I've kind of ignored Vanda Falcata for a few months now. It put out an amazing show in the summer, And it just kind of quietly sits there and grows the rest of the year. It got tremendous growth on it in the greenhouse. They really seem to like that constant moisture and fertilizer, so hopefully it's going to be able to readapt to its new conditions and still give us a nice show next spring. RLC Jesse Lee, we've been watching this sheath for a while. Finally got some buds poking out of it. That's exciting. Gorgeous orange flowers, fragrant, coming out on this. And we got another sheath here. You can see there's two. Gosh, focus is terrible today. You can see that there are two buds poking out of that as well. Sorry for the focus. Callium maxima looks like it's finishing up these blooms. You can see they're starting to get a little brown, but it's okay. It's had a nice long run. We've had flowers. Had one set of flowers open in July, and then not long after that in September, beginning of September, we had these other two flowers. We've also got some new growth popping out here. Roots doing well, and who knows, maybe we might see some more flowers in the not too distant future. Of course, Hal Bubophila Mcchinolabium had a very talented artist create a piece of artwork featuring Hal last week on my Instagram. If you haven't checked it out, it is so cool. I'm going to print it out and get it framed, hang it up. So nice. But Hal, after the week away and only getting a little bit of water, you can see his bulbs are more wrinkled than I've ever seen. Really wrinkled up there. But I'm not too worried about it. I think he'll still be okay. This is an orchid that does not need any kind of a dry season. It grows in a warm, wet place in Borneo or Sulawesi in Indonesia, and it does not get any kind of dry rest. So whenever things dry out, Hal just kind of starts to shrivel and looks at me and says, "What's going on? What are you doing?" Bubophila medusae. See if I can grab the camera here in a different way and show you. We got some spikes really elongating and pushing out. You can see this one's kind of peeking around the corner. There's one down here. I've counted at least 5 or 6. When they really start to push out, I'll have to move the plant so the flowers don't just lay all over the leaves. I like to kind of, to display this plant when it's blooming, I like to actually kind of tilt it so the flowers hang down and aren't obstructed by the leaves. And then down here is our Bulbophyllum Lovely Elizabeth. There's also a Bulborufinum, Catenulatum, and Lepidum in this pot as well. And last week I showed you there were tons of little spikes on the Catenulatum, but last night when I got home I checked and they had all dried up. Too bad. I guess either moving it, I moved it to a side of the tent where it doesn't get as much light. Still gets a lot of light, but it wasn't getting as much, so it was either the dryness of last week or the change in light, who knows, but that's a little disappointing. There was tons of little spikes coming out. Something I do feel pretty excited about is, let me see if I can get in here, this looks like a possible spike to me. There's also something else down here, could be a spike, and then on the other side there's something that looks like a spike too. Again, I have been very wrong many times thinking that spikes on these things were actually, well, they ended up as growths. But I'm hoping that the changing conditions, that this thing will finally spike and bloom. Gorgeous, 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 big fishy smelling flowers, but super nice. Alright, I want to show you my Dendrobium that I've got in the windowsill. Hoping we're going to get some flowers on that coming soon. Here's Dendrobium Country Girl. which has been in this window with the window open for the past 2 weeks. I have not watered it at all during those 2 weeks. I did give it some water this morning. We've been having wildfires in the west, and every morning, well, not every morning, but many mornings, I check this plant, and there are actually ashes on the leaves. You can see there's some on the windowsill here from the wildfire. So this morning I just kind of took the plant and put it in the sink and just rinsed off the leaves real well, and didn't really put the water directly into the pot, but some dripped in the pot. So hopefully that's not going to be too much water to mess up what we're trying to do here. But you can see several of the leaves have turned yellow, and I suppose some of them have already fallen off, and these I guess will fall off too. But from what I understand with these nobile type dendrobiums, they need about a month of cool, dry temperatures, so that's what we're trying to do. Humidity in Colorado, that's no problem. It's about 26% humidity today outside, and the low temperatures at night are as low as 4 degrees Celsius, so that's around 40 degrees Fahrenheit. But then the days kind of warm up a little bit to the mid 70s or so. So you can see the sun's kind of coming over the building in front of me, so the plant will be getting full morning sun for about 4 hours, and then it'll kind of be in just indirect sun the rest of the day. But hopefully I'm gonna get some blooms on this guy. I am looking at the different nodes here opposite the leaves for any signs of buds. I don't see anything really telling yet, but if you think that I am doing something wrong or not doing something that I should be doing, please let me know. I'm kind of basing, there's a whole lot of information on these guys, but I'm kind of basing what I'm doing on 2 different sources. One is Yamamoto Dendrobiums, which is the place that bred this hybrid. They have a global site. They also have a Japanese site, and even if you don't understand Japanese, you can run the Japanese site through Google Translate, and it will translate it for you, so you can still get the information from the Japanese growers, very, very specific information on their website. I also found a video from Jerry Fisher at Orchids Limited. He's got a YouTube video about nobile dendrobiums, and it's only about 1 minute and 50 seconds long, but he just tells really quickly how he deals with these guys. No fertilizer after August. He says in November, stop watering. I stopped watering 2 weeks ago, so in mid-October. And he says when you start to see flower buds pushing out of the sides, then you can start watering a little bit, but no fertilizer until after the flowers are done. So for me, that could be January or February. So nobile dendrobium, I'm looking forward to it. Country Girl, it's got just beautiful flowers, and I'm actually okay with the leaves dropping, because if there are fewer leaves, that means the flowers will be more prominent whenever it does bloom. Now, when I was watering my dendrobium, I actually found this little black bug crawling around, and I've been suspicious if I have had thrips in my plants for about a month now. So I know it's not very clear, but can anybody tell me if this is thrips? Well, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you next time right here on My Green Pets. I'm William Green. See ya.